how has been your journey
Wow.
to date? From
Yeah.
3 Miles to Dotsavvy. In between, you worked for global
Quite a few
mobile,
companies,
yes,
Naspers,
Naspers.
Perform Group, and all. Yeah. So I think there's several things that have happened since then. Of
Correct.
course. So as you may recall, I think we started the business around 2002.
Yes.
I was very fortunate at the time in that the lawyer who was helping me set it all up introduced me to someone called Robert, who ended
Yes.
up becoming my co-director in the
Yes.
business. So he invested some money. He also had a technology background, and we started running the business. And of course, at that point, sometime in 2002, we started, building websites and working with various clients. And I think we're very fortunate at the onset because maybe it's because I'd worked at 3 Miles, but I was able to onboard what I'd consider to be premium clients. So insurance companies, banks. So from day one, we already had what I'd call premium clients.
Yes.
And that I think really helped us sort of move in the right direction as opposed to starting to get to big accounts. We started with big accounts. And because I come from a sales background, a technology sales background, that was very
Your days
important.
at Africa Online?
Exactly. Over the years, and I was very highly trained by Africa Online. I'm very grateful for the time I had at Africa Online, which was one of the first and largest ISPs in the country. I always had this notion that you had to create a product or a service you can sell.
Correct.
Now, I know the dispensation today is that people want to raise rounds of funding, but I come from the old school mentality of you need to have a sellable product, and that is what pays the bills.
So basically, your best customer is a paying customer.
Exactly.
Sorry, your best funding is a paying customer.
Yes. So that was kind of like the beginning, and I think we grew organically. A lot of our income was what allowed us to grow, and it was very exciting, very a trajectory that was very good for a long time. And as you recall, we ended up becoming a significant competitor to people like 3 Miles and Metrocomia.
Correct.
And then you and I were sort of on the other side of the playing field.
Yes.
And I think probably the biggest paradigm shift we saw somewhere in there was when the ad agencies, companies like Scanad and the likes, who used to actually give us clients, people like Kenya Power.
They founded their own.
They decided to now create their own digital agencies because until that point, they didn't see it as a focus area. The revenues weren't there. And in particular, when I think we saw...
But we kind of predicted that, didn't we?
It was going to come, but I think they kind of surprised us a little bit because what we then understood is that this is a client services business. And the fact that they'd had relationships with the Coca-Colas and the Kenya Airways and all the endemic brands.
It was easier to just bring it on.
Yeah, just bolt on a digital competence and also create these little agencies that would focus on digital as part of the group. So overnight, what tended to happen is that I remember we had NIC Bank, we lost NIC Bank, we had ICA Lion, we lost them. We lost a lot of key accounts that we had because the agencies woke up and realized, hang on a second,
these guys are eating a lunch.
Digital is becoming the thing. And now we need to sort of bring in the business. So the first thing that happened is obviously they secured the business across the board holistically. And then the second thing that happened is talent
they
flight.
raided your talent.
Talent flight, yes. And it was very painful in the sense that these were near-death experiences for the business.
Yeah.
Because obviously we lost the revenue, but now we lost the talent as well that made that revenue possible. And we went through many, many instances where we'd be losing 3-4 people in a go.
Wow.
We'd have to then recruit, train, start from scratch. And invariably in that sort of, chaos, we were unable to service our existing clients as well. So we also lost clients because we lost the competence each time to actually deliver the work. And, I remember one of them saying a very harsh remark, like, it looks like your company is a house of revolving doors, like people just come and go. Like there's no consistency.
It's a very humbling experience.
Oh, it was painful. I don't even know till today how we survived that, now 21 years in. So up and down. And going back to what you're asking me earlier, the things I did outside that, in many of those feasts and famines as they were, they reached a point where me and my co-director, we sort of decided to, part ways at that point mutually, amicably, because things were not looking good. He also had other things he wanted to do. But also for me, it became a moment of reflection because, I was a young family now. I was married.
Yes.
I had a young child. And quite honestly, things were not looking good. And it was so funny, but I remember my wife, I think, seeing this ad for a job. And of course, at this point, you're thinking, I'm the entrepreneur. I must tough it out. I must find a way. And that's what conventional wisdom says, you're going to get through. But it was that tough. It was like, if I don't do something now, I'm really going to struggle. So she saw this job ad for Naspers, which was this position to work at setting up a classifieds business called Dealfish.
Dealfish.
Yes, and this is interesting because there's a strong convergence between the thought leadership guy and the entrepreneur guy at Dotsavvy, because I then applied for this thing, immediately. I don't know how she found the job ad. I sent it. And I think within 30 minutes or 40 minutes, I got a phone call from South Africa. Yes, and I get this call and they ask me, Moses Kemibaro, are you the person who's applied here? Yes. Are you the same person who's blogging at moseskemibaro.com? Yes. Okay, my boss would like to speak to you. Can we call you at a specific time? So the boss in turn calls me and he says, okay, are you the guy we've been reading for the last 3 years or so on a blog that tells us what's happening in the tech scene in Kenya? I said, yeah. So all the days and times I was spending in the iHub on my laptop, documenting events, writing about developments around technology, had actually become this almost quasi newspaper that these tech teams in South Africa in Naspers were reading, because I would give them real-time updates on what's happening in Kenya.
Your live CV, literally.
Yes. So it wasn't even an interview. Then I think we met up, a week later. He was in Kenya because there was in the process of recruiting. At that point, of course, they already had Mokality running on the ground.
Yes, I remember Mokality.
And a few other startups like Kalahari. And they reach out to me. So we have this interview. And first of all, they're like stoked that I'm the one who applied. And they're like, we already know who you are. So the next question asked me, okay, so we already want you. It's not an interview, really. You know what's happening.
When can you start and
when can you start?
What's the deal?
You have a business you're running. How's that going to run if you come to us? And all these questions. And then I basically had to name my price, and it wasn't even really a difficult one. The money was good anyway. But it also gave me an opportunity to kind of step away from the business and see this digital space in a more holistic way.
Perspective.
So, and also peace of mind, right? So I then got a general manager into my business to run day to day. And I did that for about 1.5 years, I think. And then as I'm doing this work, one of the people that we started to engage with is a company called InMobi. And at that point, you might remember that Isis Nyong'o had left Google to join InMobi, which was kind of like a stunning update locally because you're like, how do you leave Google? It just didn't seem logical. And we started using InMobi to run ads for Dealfish, which was at the point already the largest classifieds business in East Africa, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania.
Correct.
So they reach out to me and they say, Moses, the job. And I'm kind of comfortable. I'm kind of like, everything is good. Even though I was not in my business, it was running well. So now I even had the opportunity to realize I don't have to be in my business to run my business. Correct. So that was very powerful in terms of just shifting my perspective. But more importantly, InMobi then kind of reached out, and I think ICS sent me a job ad, and I was like, well, let me see. And then I was really
let me think about it.
Yeah. And then, she's please apply, just try. You never know. And it ended up being an interview where I think I got interviewed by 10 different people across the planet.
Whoa. Because
InMobi was hiring the best talent globally. Right. And in fact, I remember when I went for my orientation at the beginning of 2012, after I'd resigned from Dealfish, you'd find that when we went to, because they're based in Bangalore, and we went for sort of a retreat for the sales teams, everyone there was ex-Google, ex-Microsoft, ex-Nokia.
Interesting.
And really rock stars in all their countries and backgrounds from across the planet. So to the point where I was kind of wondering, how did I end up here? How do I qualify?
A bit odd.
Yeah. So I worked there for a while, and we did amazing business. It was one of the largest mobile ad networks at the time, and still continues to be, I believe, till today. And
InMobi continues up to today.
Oh, yeah. It's big. It's significant. And they got a lot of investments over the years, people like SoftBank. But more importantly, just expanded my scope beyond East Africa, right? Before Dealfish was East Africa, InMobi gave me sort of North Africa, East, and also West Africa.
So it expanded your vision.
Oh, yeah. I saw things so differently. How do you
Africa.
go and sell advertising to somebody who can barely speak English in Egypt? And you actually do it. Or go to West Africa, where it's one of the few countries in Nigeria where your potential buyer will tell you where you're going to take him for lunch or dinner. That's Nigeria for you.
They will tell you where you're taking them for lunch. Not I'm taking you for lunch at this place.
I'm like, I want to take you on. Okay, fine, but you will take me here. And tended to be a restaurant that will be very expensive and posh. Or where you stayed during your trips could determine whether you get business, because they wanted you to stay at the best hotel.
Which basically tells us that for most people who think Africa is one country,
it's completely different.
It's 54 different countries.
Yeah.
Different perspectives, different cultures.